this is the updated token that we used for talks for quite some time during a period here.
I didn't get a new token.
No, well,
You didn't make one for yourself.
to be fair, you didn't make one for yourself. You didn't have Sparky in your campaign making tokens whether you asked him to or not. And Talks was dead for, so
time.
spoiler alert, Lucian dies at some point. That's what we just said. Talks was dead for quite a bit longer than Lucian was.
Oh, wow.
At this point in the campaign, they do not even know that there is any way in this campaign world to bring people back from the dead, much less where it would be and what you'd have to do to get it. But I'm going to say some things about this. Which is this little thing of, so you died in Barovia, what happens now? Curse of Strahd, the book, does not have exactly a system for this. They tell you kind of what happens when, with like souls in Barovia, but it's in Christopher Perkins' game that he runs that the very first time that a player does not show up for the game, that they say, oh, Jared's not here today, so we're playing without him, he kills their character. And when they show up for the next session, he says, you are a ghost. Here are your abilities. He doesn't give any fucks. And clearly lets them know that we're doing this for the gram and that he doesn't give a fuck about their feelings. So here are some benefits to being a ghost. One of those is that you can see now that Barovia is super haunted, actually, guys. You can see other ghosts. You can see that the mists are ghosts. Didn't know that. And just generally, you can see things on the ethereal plane, which is super cool and super scary. You also can pass through solid objects at will. I mean, you can go places maybe you're not supposed to be going. But I wasn't going to give them the opportunity to fly. I was like, you just have to kind of will yourself to push off of some surface to move around. And Talks does some experimenting during the night as everybody else is asleep. He no longer needs to sleep while they are resting. He just does some scientific inquiry. He attempts to interact with objects. He comes to the party and feels, coming from Hellbender, this kind of sense of vacuousness. Like he's not getting the same vibe from Hellbender in this state as he is getting from other creatures. He experiments with an idea. He moves his ghost self into Hellbender's body and discovers that he can possess constructs. Hellbender does not oppose him because Hellbender is like, he's got fucking nothing going on. And, you know, he's a member of the party, technically, so we're not going to make a deal about it. But later, when we try to possess certain things, they might get a check to resist that effort. The drawbacks of being dead, and unfortunately there are still some of those, are that you cannot use your shit. He's like, can I cast Fireball as a ghost? And I'm like, no. And you otherwise like can't really physically interact the world without great difficulty. If you want to interact with the world, I made him do a charisma check every time that he tried, and he had to do pretty well to like move a rock slightly, which they, as they realized that something was going on with Hellbender, they went through a really long, arduous process of communicating and realizing it was Talks, trying to talk with them. Hellbender doesn't have the tactile ability to like write very well, so we had a really long session of them figuring out.
Hey,
whoa,
your trunk is open. What?
I can't catch George and Caitlin all the way up, but suffice to say, the parties are in Vallaki, where we are currently. Daniel is still with Alpha at this point in time in the recap.
Yes.
We were talking about Prime and how they, on their first day, go to this coffin shop that I don't know if you've heard about. It turns out it's full of vampire spawn. I know Daniel was never there in campaign.
I had radiant damage and never got to use it on anything undead.
Yes.
No, you used it on some zombies.
But this is an extremely difficult fight that they kind of trip into, and Derek's character is killed and discovers that when you die in Barovia, you get to be a ghost. And there are some interesting rules around that. Something I'll say about the vampire fight, going back to it a little bit, is that I was able to justify doing it a little bit because the vampire spawn don't particularly want to kill your whole party. They kind of just want to get away. And if you like let some of them escape, then like that's totally fine. They're trying to get away with the bones of St. Andrew, which maybe you don't want to allow to happen. And I put in that there's like some sunlight out there, so they'll have a few rounds like before they run, or they'll be like disadvantaged or whatever. But it's not necessarily a win condition of we have to kill the vampire spawn, but that's not necessarily immediately apparent. We unfortunately end up in this situation where Talks realizes it's very difficult to communicate. He gets a distinct impression while he is not possessing a body that maybe he doesn't entirely want to walk around in places where the winds are super high. He is kind of composed of mist, and so it seems with the other ghosts. And maybe it's a bad idea to like stand in a wind tunnel if you're made of mist. And he also realizes that while he is noticing that there are ghosts all over Vallaki, they are also clocking him as well. And he gets the distinct impression that maybe some of these ghosts are more cogent than others, and maybe some of them are more horrific, malevolent spirits than others. So we're trying to figure out how to navigate that. Tox is a ghost. He attempts to, at some point, just like interact with the world and make him do a charisma check to like have a significant like he really wants to like move with. He just wants to see how much effort does it take to like move something with force and make him do a check. He succeeds. He does move the object, and that's one successful check that he has succeeded. This is a charisma check, and Tox says very good charisma because he's a sorcerer. I'm not going to talk too much about this right now, but we're just going to kind of keep track of how many checks Tox succeeds while doing things as a ghost. So he possesses a Hellbender and is capable of rudimentary conversation. The party is like, okay, I guess we do definitely still have Tox here then, so we want to raise him somehow. We're going to try to figure out how to do that, and also what to do about him being a ghost. We have an invitation to go have dinner with Lady Voctor at some point. That's something we need to follow up on. Also, the Burgomaster approaches us after this fight and says, hey, fucking yikes, sorry about what happened to your friend. Thank you for saving Vallaki from this threat that none of us knew about. It would mean a lot to me if you would actually stay on through the Festival of the Blazing Sun and try to like keep morale up and stuff. Clearly you didn't all die in this fight, so like maybe you would be a good supportive presence. I would really like you to stay.
And he told us
offered us a
specifically
diamond.
that
Yes.
he would get us a diamond.
They say, could you give us a diamond to raise our friend? And he says, yes, of course. Obviously, as the Burgomaster, I have any diamonds, and we'll give you one after the festival. And they say, okay. As soon as he's done with them, he says, hey, Ezek, go shake down every house in Vallaki and find as many gemstones as you can. And that's what Ezek is doing for a short enough time. They still have Irina with them, and they don't want anybody to know that Irina is here. They want to keep her hidden. They don't want Strahd finding out that Irina is in Vallaki or that she is walking around. This is also, these are all things Prime has been going through, but Alpha is kind of facing the same situation. They're finally all back together again and trying to figure out what to do. And they have these similar threads where Nyx and Lucian come back and they say, hey, Lady Voctor worships the devil and has a cult in her basement. And Action is like, okay, well, we also have the Burgomaster here who like kind of wants to have a relationship with us, so that's an aspect of what's going on. It seems like the two of them hate each other. Also, ExStrahdVaganza is this really dangerous guy who has a monstrous arm and is having dreams about Irina, we've discovered, so there's a connection here that we don't fully understand. And also, the town is looking for an Ezek wearing an old lady dress, and we know that if they succeed at figuring out what's going on, that's going to come around to bite us in the ass, so we don't really know what to do about that. We have Ismark trying to take care of Irina, but he's also, the two of them are both trying to take care of these two children that we saved from a windmill, so they're kind of occupied doing that. We're just going to leave them in the Blue Water Inn most of the time.
You guys stay here.
Out of view. And, okay, what do we do with all this? And Action says, well, I think that clearly the most important place to start is to go return the dolls that Nyx stole from Gadolf Blinsky, pretending to be ExStrahdVaganza. We have to return those right away. He goes to ExStrahdVaganza, to Gadolf Blinsky and returns the dolls, but also, and I don't remember why. Why did you intimidate him?
Well, because the intimidate check was me being like, don't fucking tell anybody about this. Do not tell.
Don't repeat the incident in which these left your possession.
Yeah, because the person you would tell that would be problematic is ExStrahdVaganza, and maybe he kills you and then us. Like, fucking don't just under the rug, please.
Action has specifically spec'd to intimidate. This is his first time using it on an NPC, and he rolls really well. And Gadolf Blinsky is obviously shook by this. He says, okay, boss, whatever you want. And Action is, That's on there. And he knows, and many times over the course of the next few years, Jack would look back fondly on that moment.
The one time that it would ever matter to intimidate anybody.
Yeah. So they decide after that they're going to follow with Peregrine's lead. They're going to go to the Church of St. Andrel and see what's going on. Kayla fell asleep immediately before this session and could not be roused. So we say, Nyx goes off and does something else while you guys are doing this. I'll figure out later with her what she gets up to during this time.
Oh,
so,
no.
Okay. So Nyx goes off and works on that. How much could she possibly miss anyway while they're doing this session? So they go and they meet this gravedigger, Milivage. And they're like, what's going on, Milivage? And he's like, not much. What's going on with you? And they're like, yeah, we're getting eyes on you, Milivage. And they say, anything weird been going on, Milivage? And he goes, well, some bodies have been disappearing from the graveyard recently. Something Prime I don't think knew about, because they didn't ask him any vague questions like that, open-ended, and they say, oh, well, clearly that's what we need to focus on. And they go and they ask, they're like, what are the family names of all the bodies that have been stolen from this graveyard? So I go hastily to my table of Barovian names, and I pull in a couple of characters they've already met, and they're like, there are Wachters and Mardikovs in there. Why would their bodies be stolen? And they don't know it's because I had to pick names out of a hat to fill in this detail. And they go, okay, well, we'll have to follow up on this. We don't particularly know what's going on here. We don't roll well enough. We don't ask the right questions on Milivage. But clearly he's up to something. If only Nyx were here to give us her perspective on Milivage, but she'll have to cash in on that later on. So they move on from that, and they go to the. How do you go into the Burgomaster's mansion? Yeah, they go to the Burgomaster's mansion because action goes okay. So that turned out to be dead end. So then the next thing that we should do, obviously, is go to the highest authority in Vallaki, the Burgomaster, and tell him about Lady Fiona Wachter's treachery and her blasphemy. Lucian, you will tell him everything. And Nyx isn't there to corroborate any of this, so it's all on Lucian. Action takes them in and is able to get a sit-down meeting with the Burgomaster, who's already friendly with, and says, Lucian, tell the whole story from beginning to end. And the Burgomaster's kind of like, yes, tell me everything. Go on, don't be nervous. Tell me everything. And she starts talking through all of this, and he's like, oh, interesting. He's being extremely evil the whole time, very obviously. And Action's like, yes, this was the right thing to do. The Burgomaster...
I want to be clear, from the moment that they came back to us with the Wachter information, I said, oh, I'm fistful of dollaring this. I am 1000% playing both sides against each other, and I am going to come out on top. That is the plan. Didn't tell anyone else about it. just and Lucian's like, this guy's evil, and I'm like, yes, you do it.
The Burgomaster and Lady Wachter hate each other. The Burgomaster knows that Lady Wachter doesn't like him, that she's also comes from old money and old blood, and he's like, is this a chance to finally be rid of this woman? Like, I knew she was crazy, but I didn't actually know she was this crazy. This could be finally what I need to get rid of her, which I've been hesitant to do, because I know that a long time ago her ancestors were in really tight with the man in the high castle up the road there. So because of that connection, I've been hesitant to act against her. But this seems like a totally different thing that I have solid evidence on from these out-of-towners who seem capable. So, you know what? I'm going to press my advantage. He's like, okay, we're going to go to Lady Wachter's right now. I'm going to assemble my guard. I'm going to get ExStrahdVaganza. You're all going to come with me. We are going to march to Lady Wachter's house and arrest her. And you will tell everybody in the town. We'll summon a crowd with us. We'll stop by the Blue Water Inn on the way there and say, hey, everybody come with us. And you are going to tell them exactly what you've told me. We'll have it out in front of everybody, and we'll take her down once and for all. And Action goes, yes, this is excellent. And Lucian is about to throw up. So they start walking on the way, and that's the end of this session. So I get up with Kayla about what she's been up to in the interim. This is just the Burgomaster again. So we are gonna jump into that, but I will have a footnote here. This is the Burgomaster's interaction with Prime after the coffin situation. This is where I was supposed to talk about please stick around for the festival. Yes, I'll give you a diamond. All will be well. Please stick around on this. Prime gets another visitor after this coffin escapade, and it's this carnival half-elf, Rictavio, who is like, hey, I'm sorry this happened. We've kind of seen each other around the Blue Water Inn. We haven't really had a serious conversation. I'm staying in the room next to yours. I just wanted to give you my condolences. Just kind of tell me what kind of guy was your friend. Like, if you don't mind talking about him, maybe it would be good to talk about his memory a little bit. Maybe that would be cathartic. And it's because this guy, Rictavio, is actually the vampire hunter Rudolph Van Richten. They're the same person. Rudolph Van Richten has a scroll of raised dead. He is exactly one. And he's trying to figure out, is this guy in this party of adventurers my one shot? Like, I'm not coming in really thinking that's the case, but maybe I'll learn something. Like, this guy was a hero. This guy was the best. He was a paladin. He hated undead. Absolutely rid the land of Strahd. And we are the gung-ho group to get it done. And the thing about Prime is that they go, well, we basically have no backstories. And Tox never told us his backstory. So he was like a really great guy. And Van Richten's like, cool. Yeah, nice. All right, have a great time. They, at this point, while they have ghost talks with Hellbender with them, they're exploring town a little more. They go, okay, now we're going to poke our heads in this toy shop.
Yeah,
it is at this point that we meet Gadolf Blinsky. We learn about the arena dolls, and they go, that's fucked. We actually kind of want to know about that right now. We already know he's Extrahd's bad news just by looking at him. We're really concerned that he has this connection to Irina, who we're trying to keep secret. We want to know about that. And also Blinsky is like, oh, and if you ever go to the, they're like asking him generally about himself, and he's like, oh, there was this old guy who made constructs, and he had really great work. If you ever go to the castle, he used to live in the castle, I would love it if you ever happen to find something that he worked on. I would just be super interested.
Forget that.
I would be super interested if that was something that could be followed up on at some point.
I did not remember that at all.
Yeah.
I remembered it for the entire game. Did nothing with it.
Prime is still wandering around town. They wandered down
What kind of map is
to...
this?
This is a map that I found and raised against the machine when I found it immediately doing this recap process. This is the town square of Valaki, which you guys never had any kind of fight there.
Sure.
Why would you?
So it would be really bad if just one group had a fight there, and I built an entire custom map, not realizing that there was one like this. Yep. So here we have some people in the stocks, and it's clear that they are in the stocks because they spoke out against the festivals and the burgomaster. They have plaster donkey heads over their heads, and there is a child here throwing stones at them. This child is obviously a shithead, and Tox, who is kind of coming out, sometimes he's popping out of Hellbender to like do his ghost senses on things, and he gets the same kind of vibe, but like way like worse from this kid than he did from Hellbender. Like there is this kind of vacant feeling radiating from this kid, and Tox decides to do a little experiment. And Tox initiates a charisma contest with this child.
Oh.
And is victorious. This is the
no.
second of Tox's successful ghost checks. So now Tox is possessing this boy.
Oh no!
I do remember that already.
After the elation of his success fades, he realizes that he is basically kidnapping a child. Right now. They take him back to Blue Water, and he is trying to figure out a new body of a child. He falls and skins the kid's knees at some point on the way there.
No.
They put this kid in this room, and they're like, what do we do about this? Hey, do we think that if Tox leaves this kid will remember everything that happened? Do you think that he'll know everything that we're saying right now when he comes out? We can't think of a reason that wouldn't happen. What if... no, this is kidnapping. And we're not really going to seriously entertain any other solutions to this that are more drastic. Tox, well, we have him in this room under our power, leave the child, and Tox leaves the child, and the child says, bribe me. My memory is that they give him a sword.
Because he wanted a sword.
And he's like, cool, and he leaves.
It wasn't like a special sword.
Yeah, it was just, they gave a child a weapon.
Yeah.
And,
To be fair, it's Barovia. He'll use it at some point.
yeah. So that situation seems to be resolved. But we're still curious about this Irina Ezek thing. So it's actually at this point that most of the party goes and has dinner with Lady Voctor. Tox as a ghost thinks, why would I want to go into Voctor House and go through whatever wall I chose and explore whatever room in Voctor House? I don't have a particular reason to do that. I'm going to go to the Burgomaster's mansion instead, where ExStrahdVaganza lives, and I'm going to see if I can figure things out. We're following up on the doll situation. We find that ExStrahdVaganza's room
Is that an egg?
full of dolls. I hope not.
Is her head an egg?
Hope
I think
not.
it is.
We didn't know until this point, I think, that he like has all these dolls that like go way back and have all these outfits that Irina has worn just like over the course of her whole life.
What the fuck?
Tox is like, that's really fucked. He goes upstairs and finds this dude with all these skeletal cats in his attic workshop. There are mannequin children turned to face the corner of the room. And Viktor Vlahovic is in there doing experiments, and he's like, "This guy is clearly a dickhead." All right, good to know. While downstairs, he finds a ghost. It's the ghost of a maid.
Okay.
This was the best picture I could find of a ghost maid. It was the least sexy picture I could find of a ghost maid. It surprised me.
Why do people think
Just
maids are
take a normal
sexy?
lady, put her in affinity, and then put a blue
I
overlay over her.
literally did not have a
think
picture.
maids
No,
are
there'd be
sexy
so much more
because
work.
she's
I
like-
found this art, and I made it transparent, and I gave her a
I
glow
could
in
not hear
PowerPoint.
you.
and that
Tell
was
me that
it.
later. I couldn't hear you.
He finds this ghost of his maid, and she is super like scared and confused. He realizes she doesn't fully believe that she's dead because the circumstances of her death don't make sense to her. Viktor Vlahovic invited her up into his laboratory and said, "Stand on this magic circle that I've been keeping under a rug, and like let me do it." And she's not really sure why she agreed to that. It's like he kind of waved his hands and said some words, and then asked her to do it, and then she did it. And she's like, "It just seemed like a good idea at the time. Doesn't really make sense to me." He activates the circle, and there's like a puff of dust, and he goes, "Ah, shit," and like goes and starts to do experiments, and she realizes he can't see her anymore. And
Jesus
and
Christ.
she's been kind of wandering around trying to figure out what's going on, why her mistress can't like hear her, and she's just getting more and more freaked out. So Tox informs her that she's dead in a ghost, which makes everything worse immediately.
Yeah.
But he does it in a very reasonable way, and for perhaps a person more tethered to her reality already, it would have been all right. But he makes a concerted effort to try to calm her down, succeeds eventually. Julie is leaving. Thank you so much,
Bye,
Julie.
Julia. Thank you for coming.
I can't wait to hear
I'll get a recap.
about more of the shenanigans.
Oh, we've only begun.
Same.
We'll let them know about all of your shenanigans, I promise. Thank you.
I'll come back and take Georgia.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, bye, Candy.
This is our first meeting with this ghost. We'll talk to her a little more later on. It gives us some information about Viktor, and it's something we'll come back to.
If she was a ghost, was she not accessible to interact with if we didn't have a dead person?
Correct.
So here's
Right.
the other thing is,
It's almost
once I think at this point, because we were level 4 now, and so I had access to level 2 spells, and we now knew that Tox, after he inhabits Hellbender and can start communicating with us, that there's all this shit going on in the ethereal plane. So I, from then on, am constantly preparing see invisibility.
Yeah.
And so I can also see ghosts whenever I'm alerted by Tox that something interesting is going on.
Nice. That makes so much sense.
Yeah. That way we don't have
Well, I
to
guess that's it.
have Tox mime to us every interesting thing that might be going on in the ethereal plane.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the end of this day. We go and rest after this, and the party compares notes about what they found at their respective locations.
Talks about some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
And we'll continue to do so.
That's good.
But jumping back to Alpha, so this is Nyx's session that she had on her own, and she says, "Okay, I realize now, my oversight, that as a changeling, when I transform, my clothes do not transform with me. So the mistake that I made was not stealing another outfit of ExStrahdVaganza's ahead of time. So I'm going to go do that right now." So she goes to the Burgomaster's mansion. This is before the rest of the party ends up there. They're off at the church. And she stakes it out for a while. She sees this maid and doing laundry out back. So while the maid is not looking at the laundry line, she runs up and she steals 2 outfits. One is an outfit that belongs to this maid, which Nyx immediately puts on and then changes into this maid to look like her. And the other one, she does find an outfit of ExStrahdVaganza's. Success. Puts it in her backpack. She's got that now. She can impersonate ExStrahdVaganza whenever she wants. So she walks over and finds that there's this hubbub going on. This big crowd of people and guards, and ExStrahdVaganza is going from the Burgomaster's mansion. Did you never learn that?
No! No!
All right, your character did learn it.
I not before he left. Before I left the
Yeah, you did.
campaign.
Wow.
The
Her
whole
name is
posse.
Six and she's 12.
The whole posse is going to the to Bacter House. And Nyx tags
We knew
along.
that.
She realizes her party's involved with this. She wants to see what's happening. She's still in the guise of this maid. She notices as she's going that this guy is following her. And she's really creeped out by this. It's one of the wolf hunters. The backstory to this is that ever since the other day, remember that 100 gold piece bounty that Erwin Mardukov put on whatever the fuck was standing in the doorway? Well, the wolf hunters have been laboriously in heavily trafficked Vallaki trying to retrace the steps of the footprints since then and talk to whoever they can to try to pick up on any weird shit anybody might have seen. And it's kind of vaguely put him on this trail that's led him here. And he's seen this maid from the Burgomaster's mansion who he knows. And he's just happens to be watching her, and she notices him and is like visibly like freaked out by him. And he's like, that's weird. I've also been like following footprints. I've been seeing footprints like change in shape as I've been following them. I think I'm on the right trail, and maybe this is related to that somehow. I'm gonna watch and see what happens for now. I'm gonna keep a distance, but they've clocked each other. The party and the Burgomaster and ExStrahdVaganza, they go up and they call out Lady Vodka. But by this point, because such a crowd has been swept up, her spies have run to her and said, uh-oh, something's happening, and we think it's coming our way. What do we do? What do we do? And in a heartbeat, she sets up a plan. And it's extremely desperate and improvised, but we'll see how it shakes up. The Burgomaster calls her out and says, hey, you're accused of blasphemy. You're accused of treason. Step out of your house and let my people go in and search it. She steps out and she says, okay, yeah, send him in. And the party says, it's in the cellar. We're going to go into the cellar. And she's like, by all means, go into the cellar. Absolutely. Everybody fails their insight checks. And Lucian and Action go down into the cellar with some guards. And there's like a door that they open. The guards don't have torches with them. It's kind of dark in the basement, but it's not.
I have
too
120 feet of
bad.
darkness. I can see magical
It doesn't
darkness.
matter that the guards can't see, because Action can see everything.
Yeah.
They get down to the earthen floor of the cellar, and they don't say that weird cryptic thing that servant of Lady Voctor said for some reason. And 8 skeletons burst out of the ground, surrounding them.
You remember this?
The guards are totally blind in the darkness. It's Lucian and Action carrying the weight against the skeletons. When they hear that above ground, Lady Voctor says, now. And some people in the crowd put on their cultist masks and draw their knives and try to kill the Burgomaster as quickly as they can. And an imp appears and stabs ExStrahdVaganza with its poisoned tail. This is the only art the book gives me of Lady Fiona Voctor.
Oy.
In your first encounter with her, I was looking at it and I went, give me a second. I went on to Google.com and I found a very poorly photoshopped version of it that I sent to you guys, and no one ever called me out on how fuzzy it was around her neck. And I said, okay.
I just thought her neck looked weird.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell
I
with
mean, all the
some
art
of
in
this
this book is kind of weird.
go
Yeah.
This is much better than the version I originally
I
sent
see.
you, which
Okay.
was like clearly somebody just like did a blur effect over this imp,
Oh, wow.
which was all that I could find at speed. He appears and attacks ExStrahdVaganza. A black-robed man runs out from the crowd at ExStrahdVaganza. Lady Voctor casts hold person on ExStrahdVaganza, who has rolled a natural 1 on his initiative. ExStrahdVaganza fails his whole person save and is paralyzed. In 5th edition of the Dragons, when you're paralyzed, melee attacks against you have advantage, and if they hit, they're an automatic critical hit. So when this cultist casts his highest level spell, a 2nd level, Inflict Wounds, it doesn't do 4d10 damage, it does 8d10 damage.
Rendering my stupid outfit.
ExStrahdVaganza
null and
fails
void.
the hold person save 2 rounds in a row. He takes 8d10 damage 2 rounds in a row, while the imp is stabbing him and critting him with a poison stinger, while other cultists are stabbing him. ExStrahdVaganza has something like 120 hit points, and in 2 rounds, he is dead. Because the cult is so focused on him, other people have space to do their own fighting and stay up. There are cultists coming at the Burgomaster, but Peregrine and Daniel are on that, fighting them off. Lucian and Action are holding their own in the cellar. Nyx is over here as a maid, trying to figure out how to involve herself in this situation. This guy is looking at her like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to take this opportunity to approach this woman and see what I can make of this situation. So he starts moving toward her, and he's a little surprised when she yells, stranger danger, and sets him on fire. Peregrine sees this happen, and recognizes this wolf hunter and runs over and also says stranger danger and throws a knife into him. Not particularly knowing who this is, but seeing her cast a fire spell and yell this, thinks that could be Nyx. I don't know why this man is clearly attacking her, walking up to her, but I have to defend Nyx. So he runs for, he's 4 hit points at the end of this. He runs off on fire and is thankfully found by a stranger who has been watching this whole thing from nearby, this guy Rictavio, who heals him and says, what the hell has happened? What have you been up to? Tell me everything you know about what's going on. Your perspective on this is going to inform my later decisions.
You guys might be starting to recognize why this game made me cry so much.
Because you were so happy to be part of this.
Yeah, that's it.
Tears of joy.
The cultists kill ExStrahdVaganza.
I spent the rest of the game with ExStrahdVaganza's stupid clothes in my inventory.
And then the tide turns against them. The immediate threat to the Burgomaster is shut down. The people attacking him are killed. So the tide has turned in the basement. Lucian in action. I think one guard is killed and the others managed to run away. They managed to take out the skeletons and are coming back upstairs. And things start to shift against Lady Voctor. She begins to run for it. Lucian catapults a stone at her and hits her right in the head and does some damage. Nyx firebolts her as she's running. It's these two who are subject to her creepy presence, blasting her as she runs. And as she runs out in an open field with the guards chasing her, she calls out into the sky, "Strahd, long have I served you! Save me!" And beyond the walls of Valaki, we see a huge cloud of bats form out of the trees. And for a moment, there's a glimmer of hope in her eyes. And then her guard rolls a natural 20, throwing a spear. And she is spitted in an open field east of her house. The Burgomaster orders that she be left there as a feast for the ravens and a reminder not to fuck with him. And that's where she remains for the rest of the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Notably, his masters.
The Burgomaster says, "Good job. Thank you for helping to secure my position within this town. As a gift, please help yourselves to Voctor House. It is now yours."
Olamau.
We got a fucking mansion
Wow.
with a cat girl.
Okay,
Oh,
but
we also
We
got a man.
also got a
also,
mansion
honestly,
with some
Britain
cats.
just got so scared. She just got so scared.
But
Oh no, it wasn't her. It was the tablecloth.
and the Burgomaster is partly giving this gift out of actual sincerity, but also because ExStrahdVaganza is dead. That guy had like 100 hit points, and could throw fire from his arm. It was really scary.
This
He's
was
dead.
the best possible
Actual fast
fucking outcome.
Yeah.
I came out of
I was so
the
pissed.
basement having spent the entire time fighting some skeletons, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, all right, we win. This is perfect.
The Burgomaster is happy with this outcome, but he lost his best muscle to make it happen.
Got some
So,
new muscle.
We're gonna rely heavily on this new muscle come to town. We're gonna butter them up, give them what they want, try to get them working for him. Meanwhile, Prime at this point, we're suffering from a little bit of decision paralysis.
Yes.
This has actually become an issue at this point. We have too much shit going on. The Burgomaster is clearly a fucking bad dude. What do we do about that? Lady Voctor kind of seems like a bad dude. Really no idea what, if anything, to do about that. We've heard from, I believe, Father Petrovich. He's like, I can't raise the dead, but I've heard there's a holy man in the town of Krez, in the abbey there, who maybe can do it. You should go there and try to talk to him. But Prime is very smart, and they know a lot of stuff about magic. Like, did everybody we have 2 alpha people who just walk over.
Okay.
Does anybody? Oh, phone charger.
This is really big. It's directly behind me.
I'll leave this here.
An iPhone charger?
No.
A USB-C.
Oh, that's directly behind you. It's a switch charger, but that's
Oh, that'll work. Is this plugged in?
Why?
She's not, I don't think. Oh, you were going to ask a question like a while ago. What was that?
Well, okay, it wasn't as important anymore. It was, is there any place that ghosts shouldn't go? But then you said any place where there's high winds. But is there any other place that has nothing to do with like winds or evil
Yes,
spirits?
and Lucian goes there.
So what would have happened to Lucian? I guess you would have.
Oh, something pretty bad. Yeah. The biggest place that you really can't go is unless you're possessing a body, you cannot reach Mount Gakis because the road there is just wind.
Like,
Physically, it's going to blast you away.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's just no way that's going to happen.
The original question I was going to ask just now was, does Strahd care who's in charge of the town?
Not even a little bit. The bats raise up to give Lady Fiona false hope immediately before she is killed.
Whoa.
He could not respect her less.
Damn.
He thinks she's a needy bitch and he has no time for her.
Okay.
So Prime says, okay, we've heard that there's a holy man in Krez who could maybe raise Tox, but we're very smart, we know about magic. We know we would need a diamond for that to happen, and we don't have a diamond. So Burgermaster, get us a diamond. We're going to try to figure out a diamond. There's really no point in going to Krez until we have one, so we should put that off. So maybe we should go to this place, Argynvostholt, that we've heard
Doesn't
about.
look like a real place.
And it's just, yeah, it's just...
Yeah, that's
It's
my
gonna take
eyes.
too long to get there.
So
be back.
we're worried about that, and also I've somehow put this out of order. But the Marnikovs have also said, "Hey, we trust you guys because you're not like huge dickheads who killed a bunch of our ravens.
Hey.
What if you went and saw why our family wine delivery is late? What if you went to our winery and figured out why the shipment is late? So that's another possible quest. So there's just too much going on, and we're like, oh, we don't even fucking know what to do. So eventually,
But also, we're supposed to wait there for 3 days.
But also
for
we
the
have to be
stupid
here
festival.
2 days.
And
Like,
we
how
didn't
long
know
is
if
it
any
going
of
to
these
take
things would take
to
too
go
long.
anywhere? Are we still
Yeah.
going to be there? All this
And
festival
we were
is
promised
happening?
that diamond.
We don't
Yeah.
want to. We have to
Sounds
be
like you
there.
guys need an action.
It's really
check.
tough. So eventually,
About where it gets better.
I intercede and I say, guys, I'm gonna slip you a real one as a DM here. Here's what you're gonna do. You are. Did I just do this line twice? I did. You're gonna go to Lazarovich, which is north of town. Just go there. It's immediately north of town. Just go there. And so they wake up that morning and they go, we have a sudden urge to go to the lake. We just think that's the rest and recreation we need because we've been super stressed about Tox dying.
Ooh, yeah,
And we
just
think-
just go on a fishing.
We think that'll be super fun. On the way there, we see ExStrahdVaganza shaking down every house in Vallaki in case they have diamonds. As they are passing him, Tox gets a feeling from ExStrahdVaganza. Kind of this vacant, empty sort of feeling from ExStrahdVaganza. And Tox has an idea, and he wants to try it out.
No.
And
Yep.
This is
yeah.
the
Oh my
third
gosh.
successful consecutive ghost check.
Out of 3?
Third out of 3.
Yeah. Okay.
From Tox, and he possesses ExStrahdVaganza, who immediately turns to his guard and says, I'm going with them to the lake. That's what I want to do today. You continue this on your own. And who's going to argue with ExStrahdVaganza? Nobody.
He has like 100 hit points.
You're more convincing he's extra than I ever could be.
So we go to the lake, and it's pretty chill here. It's misty, it's calm. There's one fishing boat out on the lake, and as we're watching, the guy in it stoops down and he picks up a wriggling sack and he dumps it into the water. And because we're not immediately saying, okay, we're on our way to do something else, literally, why are you describing this to us? They do any perception. They ask him, you do any perception checks? I say yes. You think you hear a voice screaming from inside that sack, and then you hear like bubbles coming. You see bubbles coming up when the sack goes into the water, and they say, "What can we do about that?" And I say, "Well, in the book it lists the DC of athletics that you have to hit to swim out there in time." And they say, "Okay, we do it." And it turns out that this guy in the boat is a Barovian fisherman, kind of one of these vacant Barovian fishermen. I don't know what's going on. And the person that they retrieve from this sack before she drowns is a small Vistani child.
Yikes.
Yep.
And they've been hearing that the Vistani have been looking for a missing child for a while, sending out search parties, like asking as many people as they can find, like what's going on with this child. This is the daughter of their chieftain, of the tribe specifically south of Vallaki who work for Strahd, are evil, and everybody knows it. They rescue Arabelle.
You call us monsters for skipping this, but you're monsters for skipping the wood meal.
You did, okay. We didn't get it. We didn't get it.
Technically, because Alpha saves 2 children in the windmill, they're twice as heroic as
Well,
you.
we didn't get a
Saves
perception
one.
prompt. We have to say yes.
I was talked over. I was steamrolled. But people
fucked
wanted
up.
to keep doing what they were
We
doing.
had other things to do.
Yeah, I had other things to do. Critically important things. To be fair, you just happened to pass. That was the only time in the campaign that you passed this location. So I said, "There's a thing." The fisherman
An
has a
evil man.
superstitious belief that the Vistani are good luck and that sacrificing one will give him more fish. And he has kidnapped this girl to accomplish this. He is clearly not all
For
here
fish?
for
Yup,
fish.
for fish.
For fish. She says, please
And
take
you
me
don't
home.
trust the Vistani.
Yeah.
They work for Strahd.
They work for Strahd.
The Barovians just chuck children in lakes.
I
so
don't
they can
trust the
get more fish.
Barovians either. I trust zero people
Not
in this
even
entire.
Nice.
At no point
You're right.
have I ever befriended or trusted a single person. Irina was pretty cute.
On our way to meet the Vistani, we're going through town, and the alarm has been raised because there's an armor.
This is actually not right. This is
I
unfair.
realized just this moment that for some reason I had these events flipped in my head. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
At
You're
some
right.
point, Arabelle's actually, this is later, whatever, it doesn't matter. There's an armored saber-tooth tiger stalking Vallaki. And
That's unfortunate.
Nobody's really sure where it came from. What has happened is there is an event that can happen in Vallaki. If you don't somehow preempt this, the Vokter brothers go, we are so bored.
Oh.
You know what? We've heard that there's something in that Carnival Masters thing. We should go like bait it. Like we should go like throw rocks at the thing and like try to get a reaction.
Yes.
The armored saber-tooth tiger is roused to smash its way out the back of Rictagio's carnival wagon and is stalking the town. It has been trained for some reason by this carnival master to hunt down anybody who smells like a Vistani. And I think that the reason I keep thinking Arabelle was there is because I wanted so badly for you guys to come through town with her and have her and have it beeline for her, and you instead walked all the way around town, doing hours out of your way to specifically avoid it because you know the Barovians hate the Vistani.
Well, the Vistani work for Strahd.
The Vistani work for Strahd. All of them. They're all bad.
All of them.
But she was still a child.
Yeah.
So I really wanted this to happen with Arabelle, and it didn't, and I'll never remember that it didn't.
Yeah, we just smelled like Vistani because
When you
we've
say
just been
armored
eating partying with
saber-tooth
them.
tiger, like,
It is
wearing
dressed
armor?
in metal armor. Why would that be the case? Why would a saber-tooth tiger be trained to hunt and kill all Vistani and be outfitted with armor and kept in Rictagio's carnival wagon? It's a very interesting
What
question.
happened to the Vokter brothers in Alpha?
The Vokter brothers
They
in
got
Alpha
put in jail,
are arrested
didn't
by the Burgomaster
Okay.
Yeah.
because over Alpha's insistence that they couldn't have anything to do with it. He's like, you think her own sons weren't involved in this in some way? In any case, it doesn't matter. They would just raise resistance if I let them go free. I have to show force. He arrests the Vokter brothers. They disappear from public view before this can happen in Alpha. So Lucian, who is specifically wearing Vistani clothing, is not hunted at any point by an armor saber-tooth tiger released by the Vokter brothers, which I will regret until the day that I die. But here, there is an encounter. The party is able to fight it down a little bit. While this is going on, Tox realizes he's playing with fire, possessing ExStrahdVaganza.
Yeah.
So he gets hit one time by the saber-tooth tiger and goes, ah, and jumps down the well that is next to the Blue Water Inn.
Yep.
And tries to drown ExStrahdVaganza in the bottom of the well while possessing him. ExStrahdVaganza seems to be able, he has not at any point been able to resist Tox's influence, but now, in this moment of suicide, mortal decision, Tox feels ExStrahdVaganza's soul struggle against him. He has to make a check, and he succeeds for the fourth time in a row. And I tell him, you think he's going to get another check next round? You have a certain number of rounds until he drowns. Do you want to keep doing this and hope it works eventually? And Tox goes, no.
What? But you have a 100% win rate.
And we're
He's overdue for a loss.
That's not how it works.
Before?
If you keep winning, you're just going to keep winning.
We decided to wait on this for another time. They keep the saber-tooth tiger from hurting anybody until this guy Rictavio runs up and is going, shit, oh god, and he's able to tame it down the rest of the way. They've kept it from hurting anybody. They've reduced it to low enough hit points that it's kind of backing off. He's like, okay, I'm gonna calm it down. I'm indirectly responsible for this. I don't want the Burgomaster coming down on me. I'm going to leave town right now. Please, if you can, don't sell me out on this. If you want to look for me later, come and meet me at this tower next to a lake.
You're describing this really calmly, but he was like bursting out of the barn with a horse,
Yes.
yelling it back at us as we're like, come back here, you
He's getting his horse together. He's getting his monkey wearing a tutu together. This is a very frantic situation. We don't know when the hammer is going to fall from the town guard.
The picture is wrong.
They allow him to leave with the saber-tooth tiger. All of them ride off out the western gate of Vallaki. Out of town, they escape.
You just tried to drown Ezek in the well.
Oh, you guys just go with him now.
No, they do not.
what you
They
got.
allow him to leave, and they stay.
Oh, okay.
And they cover his
Okay.
tracks a little bit, but they're thinking, okay, he told us about this tower. Maybe we can look for him again later there. Anyway, it's So technically, before this, they had gone to the Vistani camp. They reunite Arabelle with her father, Luvash, the leader of the Vistani here.
Who?
A character that Alpha never meets.
Oh no.
Alpha
That's nice.
has met and will meet again Arabelle's uncle, Erigal, who is also here. The Vistani say, thank you for returning Arabelle to us. Luvash says, she is my pride and joy. We are going to throw a party in your honor tonight. You will be, guests of importance here. Also, here are 3 chests. I will allow you to choose one. I will not tell you what is in each one, but choose one and I will give it to you. Unbeknownst to Luvash, there's an invisible ghost in this group. And undead all have dark vision. So Tox sticks his head in every chest and says, this one has a bunch of diamonds in it. So they choose that chest. And now the party has the diamonds that they will certainly need to give to this holy man in Kresk in order to have a hope.
That's funny stuff.
There is this party thrown in their honor. Cinder is not feeling it. She sneaks away from this party and happens to overhear Erigal talking to somebody on the down low and is giving that person seemingly back a pouch of gold, saying, take this back. We are not going to do what you want us to do. And Cinder can't quite talk who he was talking to. It leaves this and goes back toward Vallaki. She's not quite sure who it was. It's a long time later that she realizes it's the servant of Lady Voctor, Ernst. And we aren't quite sure what to make of that. While we're visiting here, we also check out these cabins of these dusk elves around the perimeter. We meet this guy, Casimir, who is the leader of the Dusk Elves, and he says a lot of cryptic things, and the most important of them is there is this place on Mount Gaucus that I think is going to be important to you guys at some point. I don't think you're ready for this yet, but if you are ever learned that that's something you want to do, if you want to come back and get me, I'll kind of go along on this with you. Something identical to what he said to Alpha when he met them.
That was really long ago.
Yeah.
Alan, we're probably gonna head.
You're gonna head out. Okay.